Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 18 of season 4 of the F1 2020 My Team career mode, where today we're here back for the Japanese Grand Prix. Yes, just 5 races to go of season 4 from this series, and what a season it's been so far. Obviously, if you missed out on the last video that went live from Russia a couple of days ago, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. I know Russia doesn't often provide great racing, but yeah, season 4... it was very different. It was an absolutely brilliant dogfight between myself, George Russell, actually both Mercedes, and in the end our teammate as well. And of course, obviously, there will be spoilers in 3, 2, 1 now. So, heading out of the Russian Grand Prix then, we were able to walk away with our 4th race victory of the season. Actually, still quite surprised it's been that few over the course of this championship. But it now gives us a 12-point lead over our teammate and main title rival Lewis Hamilton as we head in towards the final 5 races of the year there. Bottas has still got an outside chance at it as well, but realistically, you know, Russell and Albon, although mathematically could still win it, yeah, pretty much out of it at this stage of the season there. So 5 races to go. Hopefully, obviously, Hamilton and I can wrap up the Constructors' Championship as well, but let's dive in then here to the Japanese Grand Prix. So, I don't normally mention Q1 in these videos because, generally speaking, it's pretty much the same. Both Williams, both Alfa Romeos, and both Haas tend to go out in the My Team career mode, but Japan has once again brought changeable conditions, and that means Nicholas Latifi has got through into Q2 in P5. 7.5 seconds separating the... well, 8 seconds even, I should say, separating the top 10 there, as Hamilton went 2.6 seconds quicker than Alex Albon in P3 there. So already, yeah, a bit of a mixed-up grid then. Not too many surprises, other than obviously Latifi getting through that. Unfortunate for both Racing Points out in Q1, as well as Esteban Ocon there. But yeah, both Haas and Giovinazzi out as normal there. Yeah, actually both Saubers, Alfa Romeos, inside the top 8. So yeah, maybe there's a chance, maybe, for Alfa Romeo to score points this weekend. So heading out then pretty early on in Q2, it's meant to just continue raining heavier and heavier as this qualifying session goes on. So we need to try and get a lap in nice and early. Now, Japan in the wet is arguably my worst combo on F1 2020. If you remember Season 3 of the My Team career mode here, we had a wet race, and I was pretty much in the midfield in a car that had won all but 2 Grand Prix up to that point in the season. So yeah, really not a combo that I seem to gel well in on this game, but if we can just keep the tyres in good nick, it is meant to be a dry race tomorrow, so as long as we don't start too far down the order, it shouldn't be too bad. That being said, obviously, unfortunately, we are now teammates with arguably the best wet weather driver of all time in Formula 1. Of course, obviously, Lewis Hamilton. Ricciardo goes fastest at the moment there as we get a bit squirrely out of the Degners in towards the hairpin. Try and keep it nice and tidy, roll on the power on the exit and try to avoid the wheel spin. Down into the Casio triangle, just running a bit deep on the entry. We'll try and get a good run off the exit though. Again, short shifting all the way to 5th, 6th gear there before you can put your foot to the floor. But it is a 35-1. 3/10 off Bottas. Hamilton splits us there as George Russell goes even faster. So Mercedes have definitely got good pace in the car this weekend. Heading back out onto the circuit then with just under a minute left on the clock. We're just going to go for one extra run. A couple of people had gone faster in the midway stage of the session. So I think, yeah, a lot of us just want to be out there. Just, obviously, if we improve, then we improve. If the track's got a whole lot worse, then we've got nothing to worry about, as well as we're still sat provisional 8th at the moment, yeah. Just under 30 seconds left on the clock. Let's just see if we can find a bit more time. And you can see as we head down through the Degners, everyone's still finding time at the moment. As you can see, George Russell sets the 34.4. We're down out of the top 10 into 11th. So things not looking good for us at the moment, as we definitely need to try and find more time on this lap. We're about only a 10th up at the moment, but I did make a couple of mistakes down in towards the final few corners there. You can see just finding a couple of hundredths as we head down in towards Spoon. Just trying to keep it nice and tidy, get a good run off the exit. We made another small mistake through 130R, but we're still only about a 10th up at the moment, so things aren't looking good. I just can't seem to find the pace in the car right when everyone else is. Down through 130R, that's not going to help.
Are you okay? That was a nasty hit. Turn the engine off and wait for the
Well, I mean,
marshals.
it was going to have to be full send in that moment, but full send has not worked out for us this time round as we head through 130. Oh, we had a big mistake in the Mclaren driver career mode through there. You can just see we come through, the back end just snaps on us, and yeah, nothing we could do in that situation. I'll be honest, I don't think we were going to find the time to get through into Q3 anyway, but a disappointing way to end Q2 here for the Japanese Grand Prix outside of the top 10. And what was the gap to the top 10 at the end of that session? Hopefully we'll find out in just a moment. Oh, so it was incredibly close right at the end of qualifying there. We didn't need to take as big a risk as we did, but yeah, we really obviously need to try and find that time through the final couple of corners there. Hamilton down in P8 though as well, clearly struggling as, yeah, George Russell went just 12 thousandths quicker than Charles Leclerc there. 5 cars from 5 different teams back inside the top 5 there. The top 4 all with different power units as well. But anyway, not quite the ideal qualifying session, but Japan, there's always a chance to overtake around this circuit nonetheless. Let's dive in then here to the Japanese Grand Prix.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One season. 18 corners make up a lap of the incredible figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit, with 10 to the right and 8 to the left, for a distance of 3.6 miles. Average lap speeds around here are fairly quick. If it stays dry, then expect somewhere in the region of 136 miles per hour. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. They're starting towards the back of the field today in a car that is fast. So they'll be disappointed, won't they?
They'll have a sinking feeling as they look up from the cockpit and realise they're in a different postcode to the start line for sure. But the one positive they can hold on to is that the car is quick and they can make their way through the field.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Albon, Pierre Gasly and Leclerc, Ricciardo, Sainz, Norris and Daniel Kvyat. Mr. Monaco, Raikkonen, Max Verstappen and Matsushita, Stroll, Ocon, Sergio Perez and Nick de Vries, Magnussen, Giovinazzi, Latifi and Jordan King. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
The boss wants another podium finish this weekend. I know you're more than capable.
Hang on a minute, I'm the boss. What? I mean, I do want a podium, but how on earth are they... What? Oh, that doesn't make sense, Codys. But here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Japanese Grand Prix. Round 18 of the season, 5 races to go. This one, yeah, we start in the mid-pack, so we need to try and get through turn 1 nice and cleanly. Obviously, was the scene of the start of Fernando Alonso's demise back in 2012. Obviously, a start line crash around this circuit. So hopefully today we won't get any bad luck like that. But we've got a quick car underneath us, especially in the dry, so hopefully we can just keep it clean and tidy and get to the checkered flag. I'm tempted to go soft mediums in this Grand Prix. We want to be on the quickest rubber we possibly can for as long as we can around this Suzuka circuit as well. It's not my favourite track in the world, especially in Formula 1 cars. I do tend to struggle around here, but I can appreciate the legacy that this track has in Formula 1 as well. So let's get ready then. Round 18 of the season here for the Japanese Grand Prix. The 5 red lights are coming on now then. 5 red lights, and it is lights out, and away we go. Responding really well to lights, and that has been actually one of, I think, my best starts on F1 2020 as we head down towards turn 1. We've actually overtaken someone. It might be 2, as we're going to try and look around the outside of Norris as we just clip him and just pick up a tiny bit of front wing damage there, and instantly a brilliant start has gone completely the other way. As Raikkonen tries to have a look up the inside, we pick up a tiny bit of front wing damage. Hopefully that won't cost us too much as we head up the hill. But yeah, just got a little bit too loose over the curbing off the start there. Norris, there's nothing wrong he could have done in that situation as everyone concertinas up down in towards the Degners, watching Sainz and Ricciardo go side by side. But for Hamilton, It is the perfect start. He still leads the way at the front of the field as well. Look at that, just everyone's so slow as we head through the hairpin there. But yeah, not the start we needed then in the end as we head down in towards Sector 3. But yeah, Kvyat still just ahead of us then, so we have made zero progress off the start of this race, which was not what I needed after responding beautifully to the lights. But Hamilton still leads the way, ahead of Russell, Albon and Valtteri Bottas. Got a good run down in towards 130R. We'll keep trying to use our ERS where we can to the outside of Danny Kvyat. Oh, we almost go into the back of Norris there. Completely have to chop across Kvyat's nose. Luckily he bails out that one as look at that, Ricciardo slow out of the final corner. Maybe there's an opportunity to get some more positions from this. Oh my god, this is all getting carnage at the start of this Grand Prix there. Ricciardo's going to try and come defensive on us, but it might be a triple overtake down in towards turn 1. No, we just dispatched both McLarens. Ricciardo one's right, tries to turn in, and we do make that move work. So we're straight up into P7 then at the end of lap 1. That all got a little bit weird for a brief moment, but we got 3 seconds up the road to Charles Leclerc there as he and Gasly are trying to hang on with the front 4. But yeah, that ended up being a bad start, a good start, a mediocre start. I don't really know what that start was, but we've survived it with limited damage. So just having a look at the mini-map then, it appears that Hamilton and Russell really romping away at the front of the field here, but we are taking a fair chunk of time out of Charles Leclerc lap after lap as he struggles to hang on to the coattails of Pierre Gasly here. Such a difficult track to try and just get it hooked up with, though, lap after lap. You've really just got to try and nail the curbs and pray that they don't come back and bite you. The other difficult thing that I've remembered here at Japan as we set another new PB for the Grand Prix is just trying to keep the tyres in good nick as well here. It's really easy to overheat the fronts around this circuit, obviously, especially through Sector 1. So we're just having to be a bit careful of that, otherwise it can leave you in a whole world of hurt in not too long around this race. For lap 7 then, we're now all over the back of Charles Leclerc and hopefully going to be able to make a move work at some point in the next couple of laps as we just try and head up the hill. We've got to make sure we try and stick close to him so we can potentially get a run maybe down in towards the Casio Triangle, maybe down back towards turn 1. Getting a good run on Charles Leclerc as we head down in towards 130R. Obviously the Ferrari doesn't have particularly brilliant straight line speed. Oh, just getting a bit too close though on the way in. A tiny bit of contact actually as we run into the back of the Monegasque driver, but we've dived late on the brakes around the outside. Get the inside of the second part of the Casio Triangle, and we are now through and up into P6 of this Grand Prix. 9.6 behind Hamilton though, as Bottas actually starting this race on medium, so I'm not too sure what Strat Mercedes are trying to do. But yeah, next up though, Pierre Gasly. Also starting to debate whether it's worth pitting, well, obviously when we do pit, whether it's worth changing the front wing or not in this race. Gasly, I don't know what they put on his cornflakes this morning, but he's absolutely flying at the moment. He's hounding Bottas now for P4 in this Grand Prix. But, oh no, as soon as I say that, Gasly into the pits, so he might be trying to get an undercut on the top guys there, as Albon and Bottas here really slowing each other down. Oh, there we go, Lewis into the pits as well at the end of lap 10, so it's a good job I didn't want to pit now. I'm going to try and go 1 lap longer in this Grand Prix. I'm kind of hoping a lot of these guys do go on to hards. Russell has gone on to hard compound tyres. Hamilton, though, is on hards as well, so those guys going for a slightly different strat to myself. But yeah, we are definitely going to have to change the front wing now. I think we'll make up the 6 or 7 seconds that it's going to cost us in the second half of this race. The car doesn't feel too slow with the damage, but it's just not worth holding on to it whilst you don't need to. There we go, Albon into the pits at the end of lap 11, so we are now the longest runner on this soft compounded tyres. There is Bottas now into the lead of this Russian Grand Prix? Japanese Grand Prix even, I should say. Hamilton about 11 seconds back. I'm going to definitely pit the end of this one. I just felt like the tyres could do one more. Coming down through 130R, hopefully no issues like we did back in qualifying. But yeah, we have taken a bit more time out of Bottas as the tyre warning has just come on. Is Bottas going to dive it in? No, he's not. Bottas going at least 1 lap longer then. We need to make sure we get it slowed down nice and tidily. Very cautious into the pits. It's so easy to pick up a penalty here, but you can see 60% on the fronts. They definitely had enough in this Grand Prix, but where are we going to come out relative to the mid-pack there? Hamilton moves back up into P2. Russell obviously moves back past us as well. I think we're going to come out just behind the Ferraris. Oh, only a 6.3 second stop, though. That's rather impressive with a front wing change. Maybe that could leapfrog us past a couple of people here as we head back out of the pit lane. We don't get a particularly good run out of the pits. Verstappen's still out, but we have stayed ahead of Charles Leclerc there. So that is really, really good for us. That isn't so good for us. What is wrong with us at the start of stints in this Grand Prix? We're going to have to try and get back on to the circuit a long way further down the order than I wanted to be there. That is once again, another blunder that could cost us a World Championship here. At the moment, we've got grass on the tyres, so we certainly can't do anything there, as now the rubber starts to come back in. We'll have a look up the inside of Carlos Sainz. We're going to be side by side down in towards the Degners. Oh, there is contact, and Sainz gets pushed around, and it has been a sloppy half a lap from myself there. Hopefully Sainz can recover. Apologies to him, but yeah, not good. What is wrong with the car on these mediums? Come on, turn around. We're having an absolute nightmare. The likes of Verstappen and Magnussen decide to dive it back down into the pit lane. We do go purple through Sector 3 there, but we have lost so much time, a good 15 seconds at the very least in that one lap there. It's been an absolute disaster class, and now this race very much is just a recovery drive. There we go, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:25.7, and looking at the mini-map, we still could recover to 6th, maybe 5th place in this race, unless of course we get a safety car, and then anything is possible again. 12 laps to go though. We just cross over the halfway stage in what has been a very up and down Japanese Grand Prix. I've just noticed as well, actually, at this stage of the race, Matsushita is up in 10th place there for Alfa Romeo, and that could prove absolutely critical for them in the World Championship. Normally, obviously, it's Williams that never score points in this series, but it is actually Alfa Romeo who are last at the moment in the Constructors' World Championship, the only team still yet to get off the marks there. So yeah, if Matsushita can bring that home, that could be critical for Williams. For Alfa Romeo even. Well, and Williams. Just 9 to go here from Suzuka. We're 2/3 of the way through this Grand Prix, and we are now all over the back of Daniel Kvyat here as we try to get a good run out of the hairpin. Hopefully we can try and look past him down in towards 130R like we managed to do on the opening lap of this Grand Prix. AlphaTauri have been very, very impressive this weekend, as well as a couple of other notable performances from midfield runners. There's obviously Lando Norris just a couple of seconds further up the road, but you can see Danny Kvyat really trying to use a fair bit of his ERS as we head down in through 130R. We should hopefully be able to go for a send up the inside. Don't lock up, nice and calm on the brakes. And we're now back up into P8 of this Japanese Grand Prix. Let's see next up if we can close up to Lando. 1 lap later, all over the back of Lando Norris as we try to get a good run out of the final corner. We're going to try and use some ERS, see if we can go for a move down in towards turn 1. We're gaining rather rapidly up the inside, but no, Lando having absolutely none of it, turning in straight across our nose there, doing exactly what we did to his teammate Carlos Sainz earlier on, and very, very lucky to get away with that one, but the gap reopens up to about 2 seconds to Lando. Heading back through 130R this time round. We're a little bit closer to Lando Norris as we head through the Casio Triangle, try and take as much curve as we dare on the way in, and hopefully get a good run on the exit on the way out. Are we going to be close enough to try and go for anything again? Obviously we can't afford to go for any risky moves with 5 laps to go of this race, and no, we're not quite close enough on the way in. Obviously Lando was of course the man we had contact with on lap 1, but you can see Charles Leclerc just there in 6th place as well. I would rather have 9 points from this Grand Prix than 5 where we are at the moment, but also Hamilton not in the lead of this Grand Prix either. Hamilton is behind George Russell at this stage of the day there, so that could prove absolutely critical in the World Championship as well there, as Hamilton not looking like he's going to take the full 25 points. Got yellow flags out. Who's struggling? With just a few to go here from Suzuka. Is it going to be someone towards the front? It's one of the Williams. Antonio Giovinazzi out of the Grand Prix, but no safety car from it, so that's rather interesting. It would have only been a couple of laps at most. But yeah, Giovinazzi, the first man out of this Japanese Grand Prix. Through the Casio Triangle once more. We're definitely close enough this time round to at least have a go at Lando down in towards turn 1 though. He has actually got the DRS though of Charles Leclerc, so it's going to make it even more difficult as we have a look to the outside of Lando Norris. A brave move right around the outside through turn 1. We've got yellow flags out, so Lando can't come back at us on the exit, and we're now back up into 7th. Next up, Charles Leclerc. Just over 3 laps to go then. We're now all over the back of Charles Leclerc, so we're still trying to make moves late on in this Grand Prix. Danny Kvyat isn't far, Pierre Gasly isn't far at the road. Danny Kvyat's teammate in this Grand Prix, so maybe if we can get past Charles Leclerc now, we can try and look past Gasly as well before the end. Charles Leclerc again going to go defensive. We'll try and do the Raikkonen for a second time in 2 laps. Again, we just about get it hooked up. Through turn 1, Charles tries to get the nose back at the inside. Up into 6th, Gasly less than 3 seconds up the road. Heading through 1:30 after the penultimate time in this Grand Prix. We're still trying to push at the moment, as you can see, setting purple through the middle sector. This could be incredibly close between myself and Gasly by the end of this Grand Prix. I think we've got a Williams as well, who's just a couple of seconds up the road as lap traffic, so maybe that kind of an effect on this is actually Bottas has now got the jump done on Alex Albon in this Grand Prix. Back down in towards turn 1. Just trying to get close to Pierre Gasly. The gap less than a second. We have the DRS down the start-finish straight there. Obviously the only DRS zone around this circuit. But Gasly, he's had an absolutely fantastic day out today. I'm sure he'd love 5th place and 10 points on the board at the end of this, but it could prove far more critical for our World Championship if we aren't able to get around the young Frenchman through the Degners for the final time here. We're just taking just little piece by piece, car length by car length, out of Pierre as he head down in towards the hairpin. Oh, he just misses the apex on the way in, but he does get a good traction on the way out. Something we could definitely not say on the exit of the corner there as we head down at 3-4 more corners to go of this Japanese Grand Prix. We need to get a good run through Spoon if we want any sort of opportunity in anything here as we head down in towards the Casio Triangle, using all the curb on the exit there. George Russell comes through to win the Japanese Grand Prix there. Mercedes' first race victory in quite a few Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. We're using all our ERS as we head down in towards the Casio Triangle. We get all over the back of Pierre Gasly, but I don't think it's going to be good enough in the end. Unfortunate for us, 1 lap longer and we might have been able to do it, but it is only going to be P6 at the end of the Japanese Grand Prix.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
Another action-packed Japanese Grand Prix comes to an end. And what a magnificent drive to take the win here today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So there we are then, guys, the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. And yeah, mixed emotions at the end of that one. Obviously, Hamilton just missing out on the race victory is good for our championship, but, you know, we can't start letting Mercedes think they got a chance at this as well before the season comes to a close there. I'll be honest, had we not made those couple of mistakes after the pit stop, I think we would have only been able to get past Gasly. I don't really think we would have been able to challenge Albon or Bottas there. So P5 was really all we were going to be able to get, so we've only lost out 2 points over what I thought, was going to be possible this weekend there. But yeah, George Russell wins the Japanese Grand Prix, able to get past Hamilton fairly early on there and just led it right to the very end under a lot of pressure though, less than a quarter of a second, like I said, separating the two at the top there. Hamilton does gain some big points on us, but not quite enough to move himself up into the lead of the Drivers' World Championship there, as Bottas third, Albon, Gasly, myself, Charles Leclerc, Norris, Kvyat and Verstappen rounding out the top 10 there. Renault's and Racing Points just missing out at the end in what was actually quite a spread out grid Grand Prix when we got to the end there. Daniel Ricciardo, with just 4 races left to go of his F1 career there, down in P16, a torrid day out for the Red Bull man there, finishing ahead of Matsushita, who really fell apart towards the end of the Grand Prix there. Both Haas, Jordan King and Nicholas Latifi finishing out your order there, with Antonio Giovinazzi the only man not to make it to the checkered flag. But that means in the World Championship, the gap cuts back down to just 3 points between myself and Lewis there. Bottas 41 back at the moment. Is he just waiting in the wings, or is it just too late for the Finnish driver there? George Russell still in 4th place there, with Pierre Gasly up to 7th ahead of Carlos Sainz there. Lando Norris jumping Verstappen in 9th and 10th as well. There's no other movers inside the finishers there. Constructors-wise though, 116 points the gap at the top, so hopefully it's just a matter of time before we wrap up our 3rd straight Constructors' Championship as well. The Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, everyone else still in the same order at the moment. Alfa Romeo still yet to leave the starting blocks. Could we, for the first time ever in the My Team Career Mode, see every team score points? Maybe, just maybe, it'll happen next time out at the US Grand Prix. But thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. We're trying to hit 14,000 subscribers at the moment. But yeah, we will be back very, very soon with the US Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.